This unusual instrument is called the Nova, and it looks a lot like a guitar, which is on purpose. For Mosi audio creator Stephen Moseson, form follows function, which means the Nova can sound like just about anything.
You can play flute or violin, but I think it's much more suited to play synthesizers in new ways. That's what really excites me about it. With a standard keyboard synth, you basically have your on-off kind of, when you play the note, you can get the velocity, but then you can't really change the sound after that. People have added knobs and stuff and sliders, but it's not really an organic way of interacting with the sound. So with the Nova, you have this giant touchpad in the body, and you can really kind of morph the sound in a very organic way that you can't do with other instruments.
The Nova can do anything that a standard MIDI keyboard, that is a keyboard that can play any number of sounds, can do. But the Nova unlocks a dynamic expressiveness that you won't find on a regular keyboard.
So a Nova is a touchpad guitar MIDI controller. You have a touchpad in the body and a fretboard that's laid out the same as the guitar fretboard. So you can play the same riffs and the same scales that you can on guitar, but be able to play these crazy sounds that you can't control with any other instrument.
That means any guitar player can pick it up and use the same fingerboard positions they're used to, but they have access to the massive library of sounds and effects that are part of most audio editing programs.
That's a saxophone.
The Nova is the product of a half-decade of work put in by Moseson and combines his love of music with his technical background in mechanical engineering and computer science.
This was kind of the perfect project. It's got music, it's got mechanical engineering, and it has the computer programming part of it. That might be my favorite.
And as is often the case, great things come from humble beginnings. The Nova has gone through many iterations before Moseson was ready to bring the final product to market.
The first prototype, it has the functionality, but it's in the craziest package. I built a really basic guitar-shaped thing, stuck a keyboard on the neck, like a computer keyboard, put it's a Microsoft Surface in the body, and then that let me dive into the prototyping right away. I started to kind of figuring out, okay, what are the actual parts going to look like? How is it actually going to be fit together? A lot of people think it's just like kind of a normal guitar body that's just modified, but it's totally from scratch. At least the shape is definitely based on a normal guitar, but yeah, as far as how it all fits together, it's totally different.
Moseson designed it himself, but it's such an unusual instrument that combines so many different manufacturing techniques that it took a long time to find a company with the know-how to assemble it.
It's not an easy product to find manufacturers for, because it combines so many different disciplines. You have your instrument, like the instrument body, which, I mean, it's all wood, and then it's a stainless steel fretboard. So that's not normally something that the instrument manufacturers deal with. Then you have this world of electronics that you're combining with this. It was really tough to kind of find a manufacturer that was up for this challenge. I've had to reach out to many different manufacturers to make these different parts, and then kind of find one that will be able to assemble it. The guitar manufacturer makes the bodies and the necks. The plan is that they will assemble it. They weren't able to do the assembly during COVID. I had them just send the first batch here. So that's how I ended up with this mini assembly facility in my garage. That's how I'm doing it for this first batch. The goal is to have them to assemble everything. This is called the Founder Series, these first ones that I'm assembling here. I guess because I'm manually assembling them myself. So I actually took a lot of the dimensions and design cues from my first electric guitar. I wanted it to feel as close as possible to playing a real guitar. The fretboard is tapered just like a normal guitar.
Even though the Nova was designed to look and feel like a guitar, Moseson says it's intended for use by musicians of all stripes.
This is for professional and amateur musicians, anyone who is interested in synthesizers and getting a new way of interacting with them. It's also geared towards professional musicians playing on stage. It definitely has a live component to it. So it needs to be very reliable and battle tested. That's something that sets it a bit apart from a normal keyboard synthesizer. You can be rocking out, but you're kind of stuck behind these keys. We all know the crazy guitar players that are jumping around on stage, and so this lets synth players kind of be able to do that. You can connect it to music visualizers, so you can have a kind of lights or like a projector that's like projecting some visualization that's mapped to the touchpad, so that it actually responds to what you're doing. So you could really integrate it into a live show, like very deeply. I also see it as accompanying other instruments as well. Like I actually get really excited about mixing it into other genres, like genres you wouldn't think of having a synth in. So you can blend it in with classical music.
And despite its futuristic looks, the Nova may just be timeless, since it can be updated with new software, adding more functionality and versatility in the future. So just like a beloved 6-string, the Nova will only get better with age.